Well, I'm going to share a quick word today, and I'm actually going to, if it's all right, sit down because you all get to sit down, so why shouldn't I? No, it's going to be less of a sermon and more like a family chat here this morning. So I thought I could sit down and we could be a bit more relaxed all together for Family Sunday. Is that all right? It's all right to relax on Family Sunday? Yeah, 2 people said, yeah, all right, that's great, I'm in trouble. Yes, come on, is it all right to be relaxed on Family Sunday? So anyone who hasn't met me, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, my name is Caleb. Quick show of hands in the room because we're still very new to Winepress. We've only been here a few months. How many people in this room have I had the pleasure of actually meeting you face to face and shaking your hand? Yeah, there you go. I see. Oh, Kyra, yes, I've met you. All right. That's my wife, if you don't know. All right, right, show of hands. Anyone I haven't had the pleasure of meeting? All right, there's still a few people. Well, you guys get first dibs after the service, all right? You come up and we'll say hi. But I thought being Family Sunday, I would start by showing you a picture of my beautiful family and introducing them. So I think Jordan's got that to put on the screens there. You say, actually, we'll try that one more time. Jordan, you take that off. If you take that off, yeah, we'll go again. When he puts it up, the appropriate response is to go, "Oh," okay? I thought I'd begin the sermon today, but he's put a picture of my family. Oh, yes, they're beautiful, aren't they? Oh, look at that gorgeous little boy with the hat and the sunnies. That is my family. I'll introduce them to you. We'll go from the youngest up. So Zari in the bow, she's 1 year old. And Levi is the blonde kid. He's 3. He's turning 4 in just a couple of weeks. And then Kyra and I are both over 21, and we have 2 beautiful kids, and yeah, that's my family. It's a beautiful photo, isn't it? We actually have that photo up in our living room. But I wanted to show that photo this morning because you look at it and you say, you just instinctively went, oh, like you just naturally said that. You didn't mean to. It just came out of you. You couldn't help yourselves. Because it is a beautiful photo. But I want to give you a bit more of a picture of what was actually happening in that moment. This was our annual family Christmas photo shoot. So every year in December with my side of the family, we do a big family photo shoot so you can see how everyone grows through the years and all that sort of thing. And so we had the kids there. It was our first Christmas doing it with 2 kids because Zari was only born in January. And so we're getting our first annual family Christmas shoot with all 4 kids. And we're there, and it's December. We've got a beautiful spot out in the middle of a field, but it's December. What happens in December? The weather gets quite warm, doesn't it? Yeah. Kids are great with hot weather. They're very understanding. We just, you say to kids, hey, we just need to stay out here for about 45 minutes in the sun to get some family photos. And Levi is here. He's like, I can't. It's too hot. And Zari's screaming like that. And then Levi, come on, Levi, come on. And I'm holding Zari. Zari's, she gets herself so worked up and so upset, she spews milk on my shirt. So, great. And then Levi's finally settled there. And then Levi starts crying because Zari's going, I can't, it's too hot. I'm holding one, Kyra's holding the other, hide the milk. Zari, take the photo, smile, it's too hot. And then Kyra's crying, Mike, please hold it together for the kids. You will notice there's no photo, that the photo doesn't have our dog in it. Our dog was there. We have a dog who is, he was a rescue dog, so he's part Great Dane, part boxer, part mastiff, part horse, and a little bit of dinosaur, I think, in there. And he was there, but we had about 4,000 shots. This was the closest we got to everybody smiling at the same time, and the dog was not there. There were no shots that had dog and smiling humans all in the same time. So we said, you know what? Dog's not in the Christmas photo this year. we got just people, and Zari sort of looks like she's smiling, but I think really she's mid-cry in that moment. But now we have this picture, and we put it up, and everyone just goes, oh, aren't they? And we have that up in our house. People come around to our house and they say, that's a beautiful photo. And we say, oh, yes, we're so blessed. We have such lovely kids. Thank you. Yes, yes, they're always happy. Can anyone relate to that at all? And it makes me think of social media. We have, does anyone have that one friend on social media that you see their pictures and you think, is your life just that perfect? Can anyone relate to that? I have one friend. I worked with this person in a retail job 15 years ago. Haven't spoken to them since. But, you become Facebook friends, and I see their pictures up, and I'm like, do you live on a beach holiday? Like, are you always at the beach? You look at your kids always in matching outfits, looking absolutely perfect. Whereas here, if I can get both my kids dressed, I'm actually happy with that outcome. Does anyone relate to that? We have this image on the outside. It's like, oh, everything looks great, like our family photo. Everything looks perfect, but behind the scenes, it was hectic. It was crazy. It was all that. Or how many have come to church before? How many church people have come to church and you walk in with your family? We've experienced this. You walk in with your kids and the person's at the door to greet you. Say, oh, welcome to church. Oh, bless you. It's good to see you. Yeah. Oh, beautiful kids. Yes. Our kids, they're a gift from the Lord. They're so beautiful. 5 minutes before we've been driving to church, the kids are screaming bloody murder in the back of their car. Levi's, I'm like, we're going to church. I don't want to go to church. We're going to church to worship Jesus. I don't want to worship Jesus. It's like, you can come and worship Jesus, or I'll send him to meet him right now. Like, it's up to you, mate. Your choice. And then we walk in the door and like, oh, yes, our beautiful family. We're always smiling. Yes, I love our kids. I do love my kids. It's great and it's beautiful. But that's just a picture of family. Is that right? Family is messy. Family is a bit crazy. It's a bit all over the time. Come on, can anyone relate to that at any moment in your life? Ever feeling that way? Just a quick story on that. I grew up as a pastor's kid. And so growing up, we were in church all the time. And it was great. I had a great upbringing. I loved it. But my parents were pastors. And so we were always, if church was open, we were there. We were usually the ones who opened it. And growing up, when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I got my first official job in the church. Can anyone guess what my first official job at church was? Sorry to hear? Overhead projector. It was the overhead projector. There you go. First guess. How many people had the experience of being the overhead projector at church at some point growing up? Now, when we say overhead projector, I'm not talking about these things and computers. There's no computers. Come on, you know what I'm talking about, the old thing with the lamp and those transparent sheets, and you put it on and it's backwards, so you turn it the other way and it's upside down, and then you spin it around. Come on, how many have done those overhead projectors? Yeah? Yeah, there we go. The real church people. I'm sad. My kids will grow up in a world and they will, I don't know how to raise a Christian family if they haven't operated an overhead. It's just part of the thing. Anyway, I was the overhead projector and I had an assistant, and that was my sister, who was 2 years younger than me. And my mum was the worship leader. And so we were in a little church chapel with probably 50 people there, and mum's leading worship. And then a few meters away, I'm running the overhead and my sister's sitting there next to me. What happens when you put siblings next to each other in a church setting and give them a job to do together? And I'm like, now, I want to clarify, I was doing it the right way, all right? But she had some ideas, and her ideas were not the right way. And so we're, no, it's fine. And we are fighting, and our fight is ascending, and Mum's leading worship, and she can see us. And have you ever seen someone simultaneously lead worship and discipline their kids at the same time? She's trying to, come on, everyone close your eyes and lift your hands. Everyone close your eyes. If you don't do this right now, I'll be... Stop. We're sitting there like, bring it. What are you going to do, Mum? You're on the stage. Come on. They did a great job. Anyway, but people look at the family and say, oh, they're all so happy. They're all so wonderful. It's all so lovely. It's a picture of life, whether you've got kids, don't have kids yet, had whatever stage of life you're in. On the outside, it can look really good, but underneath, generally, there's a whole lot of stuff going on, a whole lot of mess. Under the surface, we might deliberately or not project an image. You might see an image on social media that looks like everything's together, everything's wonderful, everything's happy, but under the surface, there's a whole heap of stuff going on. And I was actually looking up some research this week, and research suggests, I'm not going to try and go into, I was reading headlines, so I wasn't reading full articles, but there's research that is talking about concepts like discovering that we are the most exhausted generation to date. They think that our generation feels more pressure under the surface. By projecting this image around us under the surface, our generation feels more exhausted, more worn out, more weary, more burdened, more anxious than any other generation to date. And they said when you talk to people and actually find out how they're feeling beneath the surface, these are a lot of the words that they feel. I put a slide together with a bunch of the words. They feel tired, worn out, anxious, busy, exhausted, overwhelmed, hectic, weary, stressed, tired, and burdened. You notice it says tired twice. That's because we're twice as tired as we are anything else. But people feel this way. And you think about our lives juggling family life and work life and juggling your finances and trying to make ends meet and trying to look after your fitness and your health and your job and all your other responsibilities and your friends and your holidays and your house and your housework and the washing and the drying and the washing and the drying and the washing and the drying and the ironing and the Whose idea was it to wash clothes, do you reckon, and have to hurry? And that was Kara and I talk about, especially with 2 kids, that it's like there is an eternal supply of clothes to be washed. Is that right? Can anyone relate to that at all? I have said, I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but whose idea was it to clothe young children? Like, surely we cannot just like let them run around and at the end of the day get a pressure hose and all right, you're off to bed, you're done, you're clean. But our 1-year-old daughter, Zari, it's like you give her a bowl of food. She's like, oh, great, another thing I can tip on my shirt. Thank you. And then you go and you're cleaning her and she's screaming, she's like, I'm hungry, why didn't you feed me? And anyway, all these things, you put those words back up for me, Jordan, going on all the time, over and over, exhausted, anxious, trying to keep all this together, trying to keep up with the treadmill of life. Can anyone relate to that feeling of trying to keep up with that treadmill of life? Can anyone relate to feeling any of these words over the last 12 months? Come on, raise your hand if you can felt one of those in the last 12 months. All right, keep your hand up if you felt one of those in the last 12 hours. Yep, all right, keep it up if you felt that in the last 12 minutes. All right, keep well, I want to say to you today that you're not alone. Even as that sign says over there for the Kingdom Families, you're not alone. Our generation feels more exhausted, hectic, tired, burdened, weary than any generation to date, but it is not unique to this generation to face this. We're not the first generation to feel this way. In fact, Jesus spoke to this very, very issue, and I want to briefly look at a passage that he spoke in Matthew chapter 11, where he was speaking exactly to this concept. People who were feeling weary and burdened and overwhelmed and tired and hectic and all those sorts of things. So I'm not going to get you to turn there in your Bibles. I'm just going to do it on the screens and you'll see why in a minute. So Jesus says in Matthew 11:28, Jesus says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and you can fill in any of those other words on the last page, and I will give you rest. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? You're feeling hectic, you're feeling tired. I want you to know this morning, this message is for you. If you feel like there is a lot going on in life, that you're feeling stressed out, Jesus says, I will give you rest. Sounds good, yeah? Yeah, come on, who wants this rest? Who wants to come away rested today? Yeah. And he says, now, go back one. Before we go in here, I want to ask you, if you're saying to a generation of people who are weary, burdened, worn out, I'm going to give you rest, now you should take, what would you use to fill in that blank? All right? All right. I didn't hear that, man. Turn to the person next to you. Tell them what should they take if they're feeling exhausted. What should they do? If your advice is to someone saying, you're rested, I turn around to the person next to you. Tell them what do you reckon you should do? What should Jesus' advice be here? What would you want me to come to you and say if you're feeling exhausted, you're feeling weary? You know what you should do? You should just take... All right, what are some of the answers we've got? Call them out. Take a nap, yeah. All right, I think we've actually got a picture of that. We could say take a nap. We should have one of our pictures of the options will be someone taking a nap. Might be able to. Anyway, doesn't matter. Take a nap, yeah. I would want to say Jesus... I would want Jesus to come and say, I'll give you rest. Take a nap for as long as you can physically sleep, all right? You lay there for as long as you can, and then when you wake up, go back to bed. That sounds good. What else did we have? Take a what, sorry? Take a breath. That's a good one. Yeah, just take a breath. Just breathe. Yeah, what else? Take time out, yeah. What about take 4 weeks at the beach? Does that sound good? You know, yeah, all right, there we go. That sounds good. I want Jesus to come and say, you know what, Caleb, you're feeling tired. Take a month here. You know what? Take 6 months. Actually, take your whole life. Just go and live there. That sounds all right. What else? What would we do if we need rest? Sorry? Take a women's retreat. Yeah, that's probably not what I do, but but yes, for about 50% of the room, that's a great idea. I agree. Drugs, yeah, that's probably less so what Jesus would have said, but yeah. Yeah. What about take a day off and go and sit in front of the TV and just do nothing? What about just take a break? Take a load off. Yep. So what about take this Endota Spa voucher and just go and be relaxed and treat yourself? Would that appeal to anyone? Yep. Okay. So Jesus, we've got a bunch of options for you to choose from. Honestly, I'm going to be pretty happy with any of these, other than the women's retreat. I'd probably be a bit disappointed. But okay, let's go back to the scripture. Jesus says, drum roll, take my yoke upon you. Raise your hands. Who knows what a yoke is? All right. Now keep your hand up if you don't really know what a yoke is, but you put your hand up because most other people had theirs up. Okay. Now, Jordan, there's a couple of pictures. I think you know which one to go to next. On the screen here, this is a yoke, all right? Yeah. Sorry, that was a terrible yoke. Sorry. No, I'm kidding. It was an excellent yoke. Excellent, yes. Extraordinary. All right, it's family day, so we've got to do some dad jokes. Let's show you the actual yoke that Jesus was talking about. I'm going to get Jordan to put it on this screen here behind me. This is a yoke. So I'll just move out the way a bit so while you have a look at that. A yoke is described as a wooden cross piece that is fastened over the necks of two animals and attached to the plough or cart that they are to pull. So it's this cross piece here, which is hooked around the necks of the ox so that they stay in step while they pull the plough. So just think, Jesus has literally said, are you weary? Are you burdened? I'll give you rest. Take a yoke on you. Don't those ox look so rested? Don't they just look, that just looks so relaxing. Yeah, wouldn't that be lovely? That's not, you sort of read this and like, Jesus, this is not okay. This is not really what you're supposed to say. This is it's not restful. Clearly, this is not restful. This is making them strive to work. This is probably not really politically correct. Like, is it okay to say to your followers, hey, guys, I'm going to compare you to oxen and tell you to put this thing around your neck and pull a plow? Like, that's not church growth strategy 101. That's not what they teach you in that time. But this is what Jesus said. Because to us, what do we see when we see a yoke? We see this represents work. Yeah, or teamwork. It represents restriction in a sense. It's saying these ox are not free to go where they want. These ox are being restricted and squeezed. Now you think about all our words that we said before when we were filling in the blank for Jesus, generally included no work and no restriction. Go and just take a nap for as long as you want. Just do nothing, take your boundaries off. Take a day off. Go to the beach for as long as you want. Take a holiday. Go and just take a break, take a breather, take off the work, take off the restriction, take off the boundaries, and just stop and do nothing. And that's where we find rest. But Jesus comes and tells us, hey, I'm going to give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Something which represents work, which represents restriction. Now, how does this work? Because we know that Jesus genuinely came to bring us rest. We know he came to bring us freedom. Actually, in Luke chapter 4, I'm not sure if we've got that one to put on the side there, Jordan. Luke chapter 4, verses 18 to 19. Yeah. Jesus, when he began his ministry, he announced it this way. He said, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, to proclaim freedom to the prisoners, recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Jesus said, I came to bring freedom. I came to bring life. I came to break out those who are oppressed. He didn't come to bring oppression. He didn't come to bring slavery. He came to break people into freedom, to break the yoke as such. But then he comes and says, now, if you want to find rest, take a yoke upon you. But what yoke did he specifically say to take? My yoke. He said, take my yoke upon you. So what Jesus is offering here, what he's inviting into, it's an exchange. He's saying, hey, I want to break you free from the yoke that this world is trying to squeeze you into. I want to break you free from the pressure and the stress of what this world's trying to do to you. But the way to get free from that is to exchange it for my yoke. What's special about Jesus' yoke here? Let's read it here. If we read the rest of that verse, if we continue on back in Matthew 11, the whole verse all together, he says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So Jesus is saying somehow for us to actually find this true rest, this genuine place of peace, the pathway into that is in his yoke. It's in his yoke. That's where you find peace and you find rest. And I want to give you a bit of a crazy thought, and Ben sort of alluded to it when he called out the concept of teamwork before. A yoke is generally not for a single ox. It's usually to keep multiple oxen together and in step. And Jesus said to us, come, take my yoke on you, get in step with me, learn from me. You know, the way that they would use these yoke is that they would often pair the experienced ox with the new young, inexperienced ox. And the young ox learns to get in step with the experienced ox. And so Jesus is actually saying here, I believe, he's saying, I'm the experienced ox here. I've got a yoke, and I'm actually inviting you to come here. And if you want to find true rest, if you want to find true peace, come get in step with me. Come get in step with me, and that's where you're going to find real rest. That's where you're going to find real peace. You know, you're trying to figure out how to raise your kids in this crazy world. Come get in step with me. I'll show you the way. You're trying to figure out how to keep your head above water and pay your bills. Well, come get in step with me. You're trying to figure out how to keep your family together, how to navigate a health crisis, how to keep yourself positive when life's crashing. He says, come and get in step with me. He says, if you go your own way, if you just throw off all yokes, if you say, I'm going to throw off all the boundaries and just try and do it my own way, you know, and Jesus is here stepping this way, and you're the young ox saying, I've got to get over here because I want to do that. Jesus is saying, hey, I see what you need. There's provision for it. There's grace for it. Come and get in step with me. That's how you'll find it. He's saying real rest doesn't look like just inactivity. You know, that's short term. That's like a Band-Aid. He's saying, I don't want to just give you a Band-Aid to fix the feeling of pressure you've got in this moment. I want to give you deep, true rest that you can live in. A sustaining, lifelong peace and rest and a rhythm to get in step with me. I'd love to actually read that passage in the Message translation. I think it's the last slide I gave you, Jordan. I might just jump ahead to that. I think this paraphrase puts it really beautifully. Jesus is saying, are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Look at this. Walk with me and walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. I love that sentence. I think that so sums up what he's saying here. Walk with me, work with me, watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. How many would love to learn to live freely and lightly? Not just to recover from not just to recover from the hecticness of what you've had, not just to have a massive nap to get over the huge week or day or year you've had, learn to live freely and lightly, he says, hey, that provision is there. The answer, come get in step with me. Come take my yoke upon you. Come and, he's like, hey, you can try and run around and do it yourself, but you won't find it there. If you truly want to find this peace, truly want to find this rest, come and get in step. Come and get in step with me. That means getting in step with Jesus. I was thinking about this. You got the two ox. You really got that young, inexperienced ox is learning to step with the experienced one. He's learning to go in his direction. The young ox might say, we've got to plow over here and we've got to plow over here. He's like, hey, step with me. Trust if you step with me, we'll get the whole field plowed. We'll get everything done. Trust me that it'll come if you get in step with me. And he's got to learn to work with the experienced ox's pace. The young ox might say, we've got to do it now. How many often feel that way? We've got to have this now. We've got to have this yesterday. We've got to have this done. He says, hey, trust me. I might not take you the path you would have taken to get there. I might not take you at the pace that you would take to get there. But if you come with me, I guarantee there's a grace. And you will see every promise fulfilled. You know, Jesus is the most loving, caring. He absolutely wants the best for you. This is not a message that says you have to lay down all the good things and your desires and just put a yoke on and get in step with him. No. This is a message that's saying, hey, if you truly want the best that he wants for you, come and get in step with him. Just get in step, step by step. I'd love the band to maybe start to come back up and play that song behind me. And I was thinking about this concept, obviously, a lot this week as I was preparing to share. And I was thinking about examples and times in my life where I've seen this outwork, big picture things and small picture things, where I've seen it both ways. And I thought of one example that happened in our lives a few years ago. And it's something very practical and very real. So I thought it would be a beautiful example for today. And it works really well with the family day. But this was after our first son, Levi, was born. We were first-time parents. We weren't expecting to be parents at that time in our lives. Our whole life had been tipped upside down. And it was also when there was this thing, you might not remember it, called COVID, which had just started. And so so everything in life had been tipped upside down. We had a brand new baby. We were like, what do we do with this? We don't. We felt well and truly overwhelmed. And Levi, at the beginning of his life, he was a great, healthy boy. He had a few sort of health issues, nothing major, but small stuff, but it really impacted his ability to sleep. And he got into a pattern that he just was not a good sleeper at all. And, there are babies who are bad sleepers, and there is like really bad. And we just could not get any periods of time of proper sleep at the same time. And now this was like months and months and months and months. And, there's a sense you look back now and you're like, you're young parents, just get over it, just deal with it. After 6, 7, 8 months of just not being able to sleep and just not knowing what to do, like, we were really struggling. we felt like we're at our wits' end. And it was taking a toll on us. Now, and we were panicking about it, really. Like, we were really struggling. We were desperate to get some sleep and desperate to get this figured out. We were like, oh, God, is this going to be our lives forever? Are we never going to sleep again in our lives? Like, we're like, God, we need this. And we were praying about it. Don't get me wrong. We were praying about it. But my picture of us praying about it would have been like if Jesus is the lead ox over here. We're praying and we're like, Jesus, we need him to sleep. All right, come on, let's go try this. We've got to try this. No, this isn't working. All right, we've got to try this. And we're trying everything we can. And we're like, Jesus, we need your help. We need your help. All right, we're over here doing this. We're doing this. We were praying and we were asking, but we were in such turmoil inside. And we were like, our minds were running a million miles an hour. We would not actually get peaceful to stop. And I'm sure God was speaking to us, giving us answers, but there was too much noise for us to hear him. Can anyone relate to that sort of feeling? It's like, God, I need you, but I'm just too crazy, running around trying to figure it all out. And like I said, this was 8, 9, 10 months, and we were like, we were really, we were struggling with it. Anyway, there was one Sunday morning, I was leading worship at church, and as we were leading worship, I was not thinking about it at all. I'd actually had a pretty good night's sleep because Kyra would very generously, like the nights before I was leading worship, she would do all the shifts with Levi overnight so that I could actually be, somewhat rested to come and minister in the morning. And so we were leading worship, and we just came to this beautiful moment of worship. And it was just like this real sweet stillness in God's presence. And I remember just so clearly as I was leading worship, just knowing, just being like, we're just going to stop here for a minute. And in that moment, saying the band's going to play. And I just want everyone, I just feel we need to stop and just breathe and listen and just let the Holy Spirit speak to us. And in the room, there was this, it was like this just amazing, beautiful moment for like 5 minutes. And specifically said, that one thing that you're struggling with, that you're in turmoil over, just stop and let him speak. I remember saying I specifically feel like the Holy Spirit wants to plant seeds in your heart. He wants to speak a word to you, which is just what you need to hear. So we're going to stop and let him plant those seeds and and we're going to listen to that. And so we did that. And then I was on the stage and I did the same. So we just had some general music. And as soon as it started, I just knew, I was like, my one thing is the sleep stuff. I wasn't thinking about it before, but as soon as I did. And I didn't know that same moment, Kyra was at the back of the auditorium with Levi, and she was the same thing. As soon as we started, it was like the sleep stuff. And in that moment, we came to him, and my picture of what we did in that moment would be like we're this young ox over here running around everywhere trying to find a way, just being like, you know what? I'm actually going to trust you with it, to the point that I'm going to come over here and just get in step, put the yoke on, and just say, all right, I'm just stepping with you. You control the direction now. You control the pace. It's in your hands. My only concern now is stepping with you. That's saying everything else, that's your concern. Getting the field plowed for us, teaching our kid to sleep, getting our lives in order, that's your concern. My one concern is just following you, just getting in step with you, doing it your way. And that was what we did in that moment. We laid it down and we cast that care onto him. We released it to him. We said, it's yours to deal with now, yours to take care of. We're just going to follow you. We're going to get in step with you. But in that moment, we didn't hear a word that was like, do this or do that. But something shifted. And I think what shifted is that we got in yoke with Jesus. We put his yoke on. We took the other one off. We stopped running around. We put his yoke on. The next morning, we got up and we talked about, all right, well, what are we going to do about the sleeping stuff? And I remember this conversation. We were sitting out in the backyard, and I swear it was the first time in our lives we talked about Levi's sleep, and we weren't stressed. We weren't panicked. There wasn't like an anxiety under our words. It was like we were just peaceful. Suddenly we were talking from the sense of saying, this isn't our concern, this isn't our care, it's Jesus' care. But we've got his yoke on, so that means we're working with him, we're walking with him. What's the steps he's calling us to take? And neither of us came and said, I've had this prophetic vision of us doing this or anything. But we just said, you know what? I feel like we should try this. It was just a particular, Kyra actually came and said, I think we should just try this. It was just a particular sort of method of teaching your kid to sleep. I was like, we'd actually talked about it before. We'd never done it. And I was like, I can't see how this would work. It sounds awful. But it was just like in that moment, it just felt peaceful. It was like, all right, let's do this. And it was just a particular method of sleep training that they recommended if you do it well, it can, within about a week, 10 days, it can, your kid can learn to sleep really well. If it's particularly bad, maybe up to 3 weeks. It's sort of like you sacrifice that period of like just no sleep, but training them to sleep well. And we're like, all right, we feel peaceful. It just feels so peaceful. We're going to do this. And so we did it. We actually, Kyra planned to do it at her mum's place where they had there was no one living downstairs, so it was really quiet. And we could do that. And so we've got everything set up. It's like, all right, we're going to do this for a week or whatever we have to do. God's going to give us the grace to get through this and do it. And so we started that night. Do you know how long it took us for Levi to learn to sleep in that? 45 minutes. 45 minutes later, he fell asleep And then a couple of times he woke up, we just did the thing, resettled him, back to sleep. To the point that then he literally became an amazing sleeper. We would then get to go and catch up with friends, with young kids as well, go and catch up at night. We'd take him with us, and then they'd be like, oh, you obviously have to go home now to put him to bed. It's like, oh no, he can sleep anywhere. We just put him anywhere. He'd know, he'd go to sleep, put him in the car, he'd go to sleep. He has become like a phenomenal sleeper that so many of our friends would be like, wow, how did you teach him to sleep that well? Oh, well, it's not that hard, really. We really just have a few techniques in the back pocket, you know. Like, I have no idea, except that, honestly, we got in step with Jesus. So for me, that is an example. It's real, it's practical, because it's something that it was real to us, and we were hectic, every word was up there before. That's how we felt underneath in that time. But when we came and got in step with Jesus, it's like there was a grace. I'm not promising you that you get in step with Jesus that all your problems will melt in 45 minutes, okay? It might take up to an hour. But no, you get in step with Jesus, it's his pace, it's his direction. But in that there is a grace. In his presence there is a grace, and God is the best Father, that he wants the best for you. He invented peace. Jesus is called the Prince of Peace. That is his name. He wants you to be in peace more than you want to be in peace. But he knows how to have you in peace in the deepest, realest parts of your soul. Not to put a Band-Aid on the anxiety, not to just cover up all the hecticness by blotting it out and busying your mind. Peace in your soul. I really declare that to you today. There is a peace in your soul that he wants to bring you, that he wants to give you here today. Would you join me? Would you just close your eyes, if you want, even just open your hands. Jesus, I thank you that you are the Prince of Peace. And I just speak peace over everybody in the sound of my voice. I speak your peace, that peace that surpasses understanding. And I encourage you to right now bring to him that one thing that you feel hectic, that you feel in turmoil, that you feel chaotic. You know, I know it's Family Sunday here today, but I feel a particular nudge in my heart that there are things that people are carrying around their families. Maybe it's family members who are not walking with Jesus. I just really feel that today. Maybe you've got family members that are not walking with Jesus, and you're stressed out underneath, thinking what would happen to them, what I need to bring them in, I need to get them here, what do I do? There's an anxiety underneath. I just encourage you. He says he loves them even more than you do. All you need to do is get in step with Jesus. I encourage you. All you need to do is get in step with him. Let him carry the load. Let him carry the burden. Maybe it's anxiety or fear around your kids or your future, your finances, your career, your home. Where are we going to live? What are we going to do? How's this going to work? All you have to do is get in step with Jesus.